okay. I know it's been a while. Sorry. That it's been a long time. But today we should really remember what today was. Today is the day that the Twin Towers crashed in 201. And if I stop talking, that I'm getting a drink or eating something. Alright, here we go. If you didn't read that, that's okay. You don't have to. It's okay if you want to leave. I'm fine with that. If you don't know, he stepped on his leg. You know what? No one said going through the whole book. I'm just going to show you guys something. I'll be right back. Hey, Mom! Sorry for the long wait. Just getting my computer boosted up. Yeah? What is it? Yeah? I'm getting it! Sorry, second. Ah! Don't have the code! I don't have the code, Mom. I thought I did. I don't know. Shattered. Shut it. I know my voice is like because I have a cold. Yeah. Hi. Woo! Sorry it's taking too long. Yes, I do like it. No, come on. Yes, I'm torturing myself here. Come on. Oof, wrong class. It's gonna watch a video. Yes. Very cringy. Ha ha! Oh, thanks. It's taking forever! about to have a panic attack, people. Yeah, on Discord and on here. Guys, I'm about to have a panic attack. Don't judge me if I do have a panic attack. There we go. My computer is being really, really slow. Damn it, I just remembered I don't have my... Can I just check my computer, people? Oh! Yeah. Oh! Oh! Can I? I'm about to check my computer, people. This should be it. If not, there we go.
September 11th, 2001. A day of grief. A day of courage. This is how that day unfolded.
My daughter called me. She said, plane just flew into the World Trade Center. I said, nah, you gotta be kidding me. It's gotta be a Piper Cup or some clown was flying down the river.
At 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 from Boston, with 92 aboard, traveling at a speed of 470 miles per hour, strikes the North Tower of the World Trade Center complex. Within minutes, officials coordinate the citywide emergency response. Their base of operations is a state-of-the-art command center.
Well, it's 9/11 here.
Of 7 World Trade Center. With one tower in flames, the tragedy is only beginning. It is 9:03 when United Airlines Flight 175, with 65 aboard, traveling at the speed of 590 miles per hour, smashes into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. This aircraft strikes the corner of the South Tower. It rips a diagonally shaped gash from the 84th to the 78th floors. The South Tower lasts only 56 minutes before it succumbs at 9:59 a.m.
Alright, this happened to in New York.
The dust cloud billows outward for blocks. Victims stagger away. At 10:28, the television mast atop the North Tower spears straight down.
Once the collapse started, there really wasn't any way to stop it.
Yeah?
It was just going to go all the way down once it got started.
Maybe? Maybe.
Tower is down in Lower Manhattan.
No! He might be on here. And it's not you. I'll tell you on Discord.
Ignites fires in the neighboring buildings of the World Trade Center. World Trade 4, 5, and 6.
I will after we watch a few videos
World
on
Trade
9/11.
7, the building housing the city's command center, burns unchecked for 7 hours. At 5:20, it collapses. The city's emergency nerve center is destroyed.
Somewhere in that time, and it's very hard to keep track of time during this. They had been ordered to evacuate number 7 by the Border
I
Guard.
can't.
To this day, we don't know who gave that order, but whoever it was saved a lot of people's lives.
With New York a war zone, some residents walk across
Ooh.
the bridge to get out of the city.
It's okay, I guess.
Others seek escape in vessels piloted by the Army Corps of Engineers. At 7:45 p.m., the New York Police Department says 78 officers are missing and estimates that 200 firefighters are dead.
I was even
At
born.
10:56 p.m., police officials say they believe there are victims alive in the rubble of the World Trade Center.
Working with urban search and rescue teams, there was a lot of areas to be searched underneath the debris field. There were voids that had to be searched for possible live people.
Hi, Toga!
2001, the longest and most tragic day in New York's history, is drawing to a close.
Ooh, who is it, B? I've been good. Oh, come on, please, B. Tell me. Okay. It's you.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were airplanes,
No, it's not on you, B.
and offices.
It starts with an A.
Men and women,
That's all I'm going to
military
say.
and federal workers, moms and dads. Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America.
Maybe
These
not.
acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve.
Maybe not.
As the sun rose on Tuesday, September
I'm
11th,
13.
millions of New Yorkers woke to a beautiful and cloudless day. As usual, the subway was alive, buzzing with activity, commuters rushing to work or school. Some were making the trip to the financial district in South Manhattan, where the Twin Towers stood, the workplace for many. As usual, Tom Canavan was catching up on some sleep in the subway on his way to work. Brian
My
Reed was
birthday
already at work.
is November
His shift as a
26th.
security guard at the World Trade Center had started at 6 a.m. The World Trade Center was home
Yeah.
to some of the biggest financial firms like Cantor Fitzgerald,
No!
and Rubin, where Martin.
Come on, I've won my candy.
As Michael and Martin arrived in their office, they started planning their day. Tom Canavan arrived early and was getting ready for an important conference call. Everyday people simply going about their business.
Oh,
Ordinary.
Maybe. Be, I'll tell you on Discord,
In
okay?
Washington, the country leaders were also starting the day. It was business as usual. Some, like Brian Birdwell, are going to the Pentagon. Others, across the Potomac River, are getting ready.
I don't know, Toga.
Visitors lined up for a tour of the White House. heading to an airport to catch a flight. Weather conditions could not have been better.
No, I can't. I'm streaming on my phone.
Among the travelers were Mohammed Atta and Aziz Al-Omar, who arrived at the airport in Portland, Maine.
I'll be right back. I just gotta get some scissors. Okay. Got my scissors that I need.
Night in a comforting motel, Atta and Al-Omari drove their rented Nissan to the nearby airport. Wearing tie and jackets, they presented their first-class ticket at the US Airways counter. Atta checked in 2 bags. Al-Omari no. A few minutes later, they passed through security and made their
Oof, you're not that old.
The Colgan Air flight to Boston departs on time at 6 a.m. At 6:45 a.m., they arrived at Boston's Logan Airport and made their way to the connecting flight. Once again, they passed through security and finally reached the boarding gate of American Airlines Flight 11. Around the same time, Walid al-Sheri, Wael al-Sheri, and Satan al-Sukami, who will become known as the Muscle Hijackers,
I don't know.
also
I don't know,
arrived at
B.
Logan.
If I'm.
All 3 hijackers would need to pass a security checkpoint to reach the departure gate for their flight. Each would have been screened as they walked through a metal detector, calibrated to detect items with at least the metal content of a small caliber handgun. All make it to the departure lounge. All will board the flight. The last line of air travel security had failed. By 8 a.m., 19 hijackers had boarded transcontinental flights.
Okay, B.
All had defeated the security layer that America had in place to prevent the hijacking. At 8:46 a.m., the clear blue sky in South Manhattan was suddenly overshadowed. Thick white smoke exploded out from the top of the north face of the North Tower. New Yorkers
It's
again
okay.
flowed through floor 93 to 99, left many to believe
At least it's in
that a
role
terrible
play.
accident just happened. A few minutes later, the first live pictures of the burning tower reached television viewers around the world. Initial reports were confusing. Some reported a bomb.
Hi, Natsu.
Others were for power play. Between 100 and 250 people are trapped by burning fire in the upper floors. By breaking windows, they gasp.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I will be, Toga.
Are frantically waving at the police helicopter, desperate to be rescued. The dense smoke will prevent helicopters to attempt a rescue from the roof. For some, the heat and suffocating smoke is so intense that sadly, jumping seems like the only option. Firefighter Daniel Sir will perish, hit by such a desperate worker. The world was unaware that the worst still to come. People still wondering how a plane could have strayed so far off its flight path. They will soon have answers. In September 2001, Brian Reeves was a security guard at the World Trade Center. He was making his daily round in the lobby when he heard a loud explosion. A fireball blasted out of the elevator shaft, engulfing him in flames, and throwing him through the Having suffered burns to 40% of his body, he will be one of the 20 critically injured patients rushed to the Presbyterian's burn unit that day.
pulled up real tight. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And then when as my eyes were closed, I saw my son's face like come right across me, you know. And something said, "Get up and run. You can run away." But then when I opened my eyes and I looked, about this close to my face was fire.
Reeves's road to recovery has been long and painful, and is by no means over.
No.
Today, he still battles serious psychological problems as a result of his extensive injuries.
But my mom knows about this.
Emotions are kept in check with help and motivation from family. But anger lingers and is still a part of his life.
It's for me to it's like I want to go out there and do something. You know what I'm saying? But it's not. But that's not me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go out there because somebody hurt me. I don't want to go out there. You know what I'm saying?
Shortly after 9 a.m., at 950 kilometers an hour, a clear message was delivered. The first plane to crash was not an accident.
I know. That's how big of a candy that's how much candy I like.
America was under attack.
I like a bunch of candy. Besides, candy's my life.
The plane struck level 78 to 85, forming a barrier between hope on the lower level and despair above the impact zone. The wingtip grazed the 78th floor sky lobby, instantly killing dozens of people waiting for elevators. In both towers, the staircases were located close together, in the core of the building, near the elevator shaft. When the first tower was hit, all stairways were immediately severed by the plane, or blocked by debris following the blast. The impact on the South Tower, however, happened on levels where the stairs divert around heavy elevator machinery. So instead of running near the building core, 2 stairways are closer to the perimeter. On the northwest side, 1 stairway survived the impact. Many in both towers will survive.
Okay, what do you guys think about 9/11? Before we continue. Yeah. Just imagine, all of those people in those airplanes died. A lot.
Survivor stories, phone calls, text messages, and emails from the upper levels help to estimate that more than 1,000 survived the initial. Some 300 of those are high in the South Tower, 800 more higher in the North Tower. Men and women from the impact zone or higher are known to have used the South Tower surviving staircase to reach the relative safety of New York streets. The plane's initial impact caused
It did.
damage on the floor above and below the impact zone. The twisting and bending of the buildings caused deformation.
And then there was a
jamming them shut.
Then there was a plane that crashed into the Pentagon.
Exit doors and doorways. Hundreds found themselves trapped in offices, boardrooms, or toilets. A small group of Port Authority workers freed 28 people trapped in offices on the 86th and 89th floor of the North Tower. They have to use considerable force to open the jammed doors. This small group of rescuers will never be seen again. Witnesses and those who managed to reach the streets were facing an emergency they could not comprehend.
I didn't see what happened, but I saw people jumping out of the building just now. I'm seeing my sister's all right. This is in that building. Not the World Trade Center itself, just in the World Trade Center.
As the fire
Ooh.
continued to consume both
There
buildings,
on the East Coast,
structures,
there's a hurricane
stories of
that's
tragic
happening
fate,
right
and
now
lucky escape.
on the East Coast of the United States.
Jim Pierce, a cousin of George Bush, a managing director for the AON Corporation, had organised a conference for the morning on the 105th floor. As the crowd was too large for the meeting room on that floor, the conference was moved to the nearby Millennium Hotel.
Poor people. Poor those people that are in the hurricane that had to leave their homes.
We're on the 105th floor when the plane hit. Only one survived. As for President Bush himself, he was in Florida to promote his education reform at the time of the first attack. As he is reading with the students, Chief of Staff Andrew Card whispered to Bush, "A second plane hit the World Trade Center. America is under attack."
Today we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent attack.
I'm trying to hold back the tears, you guys.
I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and I've ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families.
After his address, Bush is rushed.
Yeah.
to the
K5 would be a lot dangerous. Yep. Anyway.
Soon after 9 a.m., many in the Pentagon received phone calls telling them to turn on their television. Like me, they watch in horror the smoke coming from the World Trade Center as the live pictures of United Airlines Flight 175 crashing into the South Tower are broadcast.
I know, that was creepy.
Departing a few minutes after Flight 175 is American Airlines Flight 77, a Boeing 757 with 58 passengers, 6 crew members, and 37,000 litres of fuel. 5 hijackers are also on board the plane. Sometime between 8:50 and 8:54 a.m., they will gain control of the plane, change course, and head for Washington. Flight 77
I'm trying to hold back the tears from this document.
and starts a violent fire. The passengers and crew members are all killed instantly. Brian Birdwell lay burning and bleeding on the second floor, meters from where the nose of the plane penetrated the building. 60% of his body is burned. He has difficulty breathing and can't stand up. Water started dripping from the sprinkler. The cold water extinguished the fire, searing his body. As the roaring fire continues to burn, Birdwell found the strength to open his eyes. Through the smoke pouring from the hallway and the scattered debris,
You guys, I can hold back the tears.
he knew he needed to get moving. He started to make his way towards the light. As he reaches the corridor door, Birdwell saw some friends. Exhausted, he collapsed in front of them. The men carried Birdwell out. Birdwell spent 92 days in hospital. There he undergoes 39 surgeries, some life-saving, others to reconstruct his face and ears. He said there was no way to describe the pain pain.
Guys, I'm really about to cry.
9 men and women were sent to the burn unit that day. Only 2 were expected to survive.
Well, only
8
2.
ultimately did survive. The blast from the plane and the heat from the resulting fire killed 125 Pentagon personnel. A series of fortunate events prevented the loss of more lives. The crash site near the heliport was the best prepared to withstand such an attack. Following the attack in Oklahoma City, this side of the Pentagon was undergoing substantial renovation. The walls were being reinforced and a sprinkler system was being installed. On the morning of the attack, most of the work had been completed, and most offices were unoccupied due to the renovation. The reinforcement of the walls prevented the building from collapse for 30 minutes, enough time for hundreds of people to crawl to safety. The sprinkler system saved Brian Birdwell. At 9:45 a.m., all United States airspace is shut down. Civilian aircraft are grounded. All flights are ordered to land at the nearest airport as soon as possible. Air traffic control will redirect all international flights heading for the United States to Canada. No commercial flights are allowed in the sky until September 14. United Airlines Flight 93 also receives the order to land as soon as possible, but no reply comes back from the cockpit. Beverly Eckert was on the phone with her husband, Sean Rooney. Mr. Rooney wanted to know where the fire was as he was making his way to the roof, hoping to be rescued there. Still on the phone, Beverly heard a loud explosion before the line drops out. Like millions, she watched in horror.
Okay.
On the streets, a wave of panic hits onlookers. Unsure of what has just happened, they start running. The South Tower collapsed 56 minutes after being struck. Only 14 people escaped from the impact zone of the South Tower after it was hit, and only 4 people from the floors above it. They escaped by a stairwell A, the only stairwell that had been left intact after the impact. Sean Rooney and Michael Eichen are not with those who escaped. Monica and Michael Eichen met on September 11, 1999. They married a year later. Michael Eichen, a 37-year-old bonds broker, worked on the 84th floor of the South Tower. He had called his wife Monica soon after the first plane hit. He was safe. As Monica put the phone down, she saw from the corner of her eye the second plane hit. Monica tried to call Michael back. The line was dead. On September 12th, Monica, like so many, was desperately searching for Michael. Pitcher in hand, she went through hospitals desperately hoping to find him. Like so many, she came back home with only his picture. Since the tragedy, Monica has gone on to form the September Mission, a foundation dedicated to the development of a memorial park for the victims on the World Trade Center site.
You can't build over people, and a lot of people feel that way. Even people that didn't work down there, people that are haven't had lost anyone, they see it as the same thing. It's like a war zone, and you don't build on a war zone, and you don't build over dead people, and they might not feel comfortable having office space there in that area where you're kind of feeling like, well, those people lost their lives because they went to work.
Monica hoped for months, waiting for a call from Ground Zero with the news that they had found her husband's remains. The phone never rang. Finding closure has been incredibly hard for Monica. She feels it's important for the healing process to have a place, a memorial, on the site where Michael perished.
Something you can't explain. It's the way you'll connect with your loved one, whoever you are. You can maybe go to a particular spot and say, oh, he was here, Tower 2, and maybe that area, and say, let me find a space for myself that I can always feel closure, and I'll come to that particular space, and Michael will meet me there. I'm convinced I'll get closure every time I go there if I have the right space to do that.
As the roar of the collapse goes silent, a grey-white cloud of powder concrete and gypsum rushes through the streets. Witnesses describe it as a heavy fog. Visibility was no more than 2 meters. Running from the cloud, people remain calm. Those who escape the cloud of smoke are mostly uninjured. Covered in dust, rubbing their eyes and looking dazed, they start walking away. The streets of New York looked like a war zone. The landscape was unrecognizable. As the crisis continued to escalate, more firefighters, police officers and paramedics rushed to the scene. Many would never be seen again. It is estimated that the collapse of the South Tower killed 630 people, almost everyone about
That's great, guys.
In 2007, the New York City Medical Examiner's Office added Felicia Dunn-Jones to the official death toll. Dunn-Jones died 5 months after 9/11 from a lung condition, which was linked to exposure to dust during the collapse of the World Trade Center. The collapse of the South Tower also affected those who were escaping the North Tower. Tom Canavan, a 42-year-old security specialist, was working in a bank on the 47th floor of the North Tower. He was on a conference call when at 8:46 a.m. a plane crashed higher in his building. He had ample time to evacuate before the collapse, but he stayed behind to help put securities back in the vault. At 9:03 a.m. when the second plane hit, Canavan was in a congested stairway making his way down. At 9:59, Canavan was following the evacuation route. He passed through revolving doors and was making his way in an underground shopping mall that connected the North and South Tower. He heard a rumble. The South Tower was coming down. Tom was buried alive. Remarkably, as he opens his eyes, Canavan realizes he is not alone. Both Tom and the other men will crawl through 7 inches of debris from the underground room to an outdoor plane. 25 minutes after he was buried alive, Tom Canavan was free.
Big boom. Come down the steps, everything's fine till we got to the basement and then everything just fell in. I got trapped under there with another guy, crawled out, kept getting hit in the head, took bags all around, finally we clawed our way out over the rubble. Come on, we did it right.
Tom was soon taken to hospital where he received a few stitches and then checks himself out.
That is really hard for me.
As the year passes, the physical wounds will heal, but he will find it harder to heal the psychological effects caused by the collapse.
At first I had no trouble sleeping and it was sort of brushed aside. I don't know if it was a denial or whatever, but now it affects me. I sleep maybe 4 hours a night. I'm on medication.
Since crawling out and walking away almost uninjured, Canavan has struggled. Mostly, his feelings were affected. He found himself snapping quite often. He had no patience for his wife and children. Through therapy, he manages to get his emotions under control. Returning to work quickly was also beneficial in his recovery. As the life of millions has in one way or another changed, Tom's words echoes those of a great majority.
It didn't really change me, but it made me realize that my life before this, that I had it good before this. That I didn't realize how good it was before this, and that I just want it to be like it was. I don't need it to be any better. I just need it to be as it was before any of this happened.
At 10:03, the last hijacked plane will miss its target. The courage of those on board will ensure that many more casualties are avoided. The plane fragmented upon impact, leaving a large crater. Debris was found kilometers from the crash site. Phone calls made from the plane uncovered unlikely heroes. Jeremy Glick called his wife and told her the flight was hijacked by 3 dark-skinned men that looked Iranian, wearing red bandanas and wielding knives. Until the end of the flight. He reported that the passengers voted whether to rush the hijackers. Elizabeth Wenyo called her stepmother at 9:53 and concluded 4.5 minutes later by saying, "I have to go. They're breaking into the cockpit." Sandra Bradshaw on the phone with her husband said, "Everyone is running up to first class. I've got to go. Bye." The revolt on Flight 93 began at 9:57. The hijackers in the cockpit became aware of the revolt seconds later. Amidst the sounds of the passenger car attack, the aircraft plowed into an empty field in Stony Creek, Pennsylvania. Flight 93 intended target remains a mystery. From inside the North Tower, horrific stories will emerge. Tom McGinnis, a trader, was attending a special meeting on the 92nd floor when Flight 11 crashes into the tower. There was a huge explosion. Around him, walls collapsed. Smoke started filling his office. Through the window, he could see people falling or jumping from the floors above. Mr. McGinnis surveys the damage around him and realizes he was trapped. There was no way. He called his wife, Diana, the mother of 4-year-old daughter, Katie. It was 10:26. The fire raged on the west side of the 92nd floor. The phone lines cut. Tom McGinnis will not survive. From the moment Flight 11 hit the North Tower, evacuation proceeded efficiently. The elevators were all rendered unusable. However, the 3 stairways survived. The 102 minutes between the impact and collapse allowed the vast majority of the workers below the impact zone to escape the building safely. No one on the 91st floor or above is believed to have survived. It is estimated that approximately 1,300 people on these floors perished.
1,300?
No one knows how many survived the initial crash. No one knows how many survived the horrific fire and toxic smoke. In the upper level, many are forced to break windows to get a gasp of fresh air. The light northerly wind took the north corner of the roof clear of smoke, and helicopter rescue should have been possible. However, the Port Authority ordered the doors to the roof of the tower locked. During the 1993, 28 people were rescued from the roof by helicopter.
Oh, clear people.
Shortly after the South Tower collapse, a police helicopter radioed a warning for firefighters to evacuate the north. Unfortunately, most of the firefighters' radios did not work inside the towers. Very few heard that order. 121 firefighters were killed when the tower collapsed. When the dust started to clear, Lower Manhattan was mostly empty. People had fled. News cameras captured images of one shirtless, lonely man, wandering aimlessly. His name is Les Sweeting.
Looking for my wife. We were in the building when it hit. Yeah. All the way down at the end of the park.
Is your name Barry?
No, my name's Sweeting. I've lost my wife and daughter. We were in the building when it hit. I saw the second plane go into the building, into the second building. Everyone's down this way, so maybe they're down here. Well, I've just come from around there. I've walked down. Thank you, anyway.
Les Sweeting was holidaying in New York with his wife and daughter. They were all in their hotel room in the World Trade Center complex, getting ready when the first plane hit. Debris flows past the window. Les, still getting ready, told his wife to go ahead. He will join them in a minute. In the confusion following the first tower collapse, Christine and her daughter Nicola run towards Battery Park. They took a ferry to Staten Island, not knowing where Les was. Les spent hours searching for them among the choking streets. Later, he took a ferry to New Jersey. There, he found refuge in a Red Cross shelter. Christine spent the night watching television coverage, searching every face for a sign of Les. The next afternoon, they are all reunited. Les Sweeting never spoke about what he'd seen. He will die suddenly in September 2006. Around 50 men and women died in what will be known as Hotel 9/11. Soon after the tower had crumbled, hundreds of dazed firefighters were on the scene. Many were crying, others sitting on piles of debris, were trying to come to terms with what had just happened.
Guys. I think I'm this video, I think we're gonna end it.
The collapse of the towers took an incredible toll on the first responders. According to the 9/11 Commission report, the New York Fire Department suffered 343 fatalities, the largest loss of life of any emergency response agency in history. The Port Authority Police Department suffered 37 losses. The New York Police Department lost 23 officers. Among the casualties were a number of senior staff, including the FDNY chief of department and the Port Authority Police Superintendent. Incredibly, 12 firefighters, 1 PAPD officer, and 2 civilians
After
who
this
experienced their well-being
short
in the
precious
tower
documentary, I'm
survived.
ending it. You guys, I can't keep this up.
Lieutenant Vicky Cross, a firefighter at the East 29th Street station, is one of the lucky 12. Cross lost many friends on that tragic morning. Like almost all the other firefighters in New York that day, Mickey Cross responded to the emergency at the World Trade Center. He was just east of the South Tower when he heard a tremendous explosion. From where he was, he could not see what just happened. It was the second plane hitting the other tower. He entered the building and started As he made his way up stairway B, workers were making their way down, making progress difficult. Then the building started to shake. Cross didn't know what was happening. He will later learn the shaking was caused by the South Tower collapse. As evacuation orders were given in the North Tower, Cross started to descend. Somewhere around the 18th or 19th floor, Cross joined 6 men from ladder 6 in their quest to save a woman, Josephine Harris, who had a problem walking. Slowly they made their way down. Then, suddenly, Cross heard a tremendous roar coming above. The North Tower was coming down on him. Cross, the men from ladder 6 and Josephine Harris were buried under all but 5 stories of that building. All are alive. All managed to climb their way out of the rubble.
I mean, 10-story building fell down, and I was in the middle of it, and here I am. There's nothing wrong with me. And then I think about all the people that were dying at that moment. You know, friends of mine that were dying at that moment as those buildings were coming down. You know, so it's a very mixed up. I don't have one set of feelings about this. It's very mixed up.
Mickey Cross's next memory was the following Thursday night, when he was going for the beginning of the recovery effort. He had volunteered to go down to work at the World Trade Center. Once on site, as he saw the flame, Cross was wondering why he was going back. As he started working, he felt better. Lieutenant Cross became obsessed with being there. He kept volunteering to go. He officially did 2 months of recovery work before the fire department tells him he could not go anymore. He went on his own anyway. Cross's friend, a psychologist, tells him that if he felt better on the site, then he should keep going.
I do get a sense of peace of mind when I'm there. If I stay away from there too long, I get fidgety. I just spent a couple of days away on Long Island, and I couldn't wait to get back. I went supposedly to relax, and I wasn't relaxed at all. I couldn't wait to get back into town. Yeah, it's going to be an experience when this ends.
Cross will spend months searching for fallen colleagues. Every time they find a fireman or a cop, everybody stops work and they send a stretcher down, even though what they've found would fit into a small shopping bag. The cops and the firefighters line up. A flag covers the stretcher. They take their hats off and carry it out. Mickey is now retired from the FDNY and now collaborates with the Memorial Museum Foundation and volunteers his time speaking for the World Trade Center Tribute Center. Only 20 who were trapped in the rubble got out, most within a few hours after the collapses. Tom Canavan crawled with another man through 30 feet of twisted steel in the underground shopping mall after the South Tower fell at 9:59 a.m., escaping just before the North Tower fell 29 minutes later. Pasquale Basile of Rivervale lost consciousness in a collapsing North Tower stairway. Hours later, he awoke atop the debris and was carried away by a rescue team. 14 others, including Mickey Cross, huddled in that same North Tower stairway. Just after noon, they climbed the stairs to the top of the Ground Zero rubble field. Early in the afternoon, the first bulldozers arrived to begin moving debris. Later, dozens of firefighters began combing through the rubble, but after only half an hour of searching, fears of another collapse forced them to scramble away. Officials feared the collapse of 7 World Trade Center, another high-rise burning in the complex, as well as other high-rise buildings bordering the complex. By early evening, 7 World Trade Center finally fell.
Kitty!
Police officer Will Jimino was cut from the rubble later that evening.
Kitty, kitty, kitty!
His partner, Sergeant John McLaughlin, was pulled free just after 7 a.m. on September 12th.
Hey, kitty.
Janelle Guzman McMillan will be the last person pulled alive from the wreckage of the World Trade Center.
Come on. I'm not Tiff.
At 12:30 p.m. on September 12th, the towers had fallen 27 hours earlier. McMillan's head was stuck between two pieces of concrete, her legs sandwiched by pieces of a stairway. Her toes had gone numb hours ago. Her right hand was pinned under her leg. Only her left hand was free. The sun rises on the 12th against a curtain of grey soot and smoke. New York was an urban wasteland of deserted streets and crushed vehicles. New Yorkers watched in horror as the World Trade Center complex smoldered.
Oh, kitty!
In the afternoon, citizens already traumatized were shaken even more by the rumbling collapse of the remainder of the South Tower. No one was seriously injured, but rescue workers feared for those who could still be alive, trapped in the rubble. Fears of gas leaks and the possibility of asbestos and other toxic substances in the air further complicated the rescue effort. Exhausted firefighters kept working. 2 cranes lifted wreckage so that the searchers with dogs and sound probes could detect signs of life as firefighters picked through the rubble. In the toxic air, workers had to rinse their eyes every 5 minutes. It was hard work. A cell phone tower had collapsed and landed upright on the ground. Someone climbed the tower and attached an American flag. Everyone stopped and saluted for a second. Volunteers moved debris aside in search of survivors. Every time they turned over a piece of steel, they would find body parts. One rescue worker found 3 bodies in the ruins during 16 hours of work. One was not identifiable. The second was the corpse of a man. The third was burned beyond recognition. In the streets around Ground Zero, the clouding of dust and ash became an open book. On a red car, someone wrote, "We won't forget," on the windshield. And New York will stand steadfast on the passenger side. Names of missing firefighters were written on building windows. A crushed bus read, "In God We Trust." Emergency crews worked tirelessly, unaware they were putting their lives
Hey,
at risk
Connor.
on many
I'm
levels.
trying.
The pile of debris was unstable and dangerous. In the air, invisible particles were floating.
No, it was such a sad day for the USA.
Police officer Richard Volpe and his
I'm even
partner
trying to
Tom
stop
Walker
myself.
arrived at
I'm
Ground
stopping
Zero
myself
shortly
from
after the towers
crying.
had collapsed. They searched the pile for survivors the first few days as part of the bucket brigade, wearing only surgical masks for protection. They spent the next several months recovering body fragments, volunteering on days off. They felt so strongly about the mission that they braved the conditions even as they began coughing up blood. According to a 2006 report, 70% of 9/11 first responders have debilitating respiratory illnesses.
Ooh.
Many of them have been ill for years and will be...
I wasn't alive when this was
I
happening.
think from the beginning, I think that the actual site could have been secured a lot better. I don't hear of, that I know of any illnesses from the site in Washington. I mean, they sealed the whole site off. Everybody that was in there had proper respirators and they had the Tyvek suits. And
And here I am
nobody got
at
sick from there.
and 13.
Where the toxins were probably a billion times worse than there. They didn't take any of those preventions to help the people that were here.
Volpe now suffers from kidney failure and respiratory problems. Together with his partner, John Wilcox, they started a coalition to try to get compensation for the health problems they'd suffered as a result of being involved with the rescue operation. They won the case late 2010. In early 2011, President Obama signed the 9/11 Health Act, providing first responders with health care.
Yeah.
And even if the city wasn't negligent and these people got sick because they weren't given respirators and it's no one's fault, how do you not compensate cops, construction workers who went down there to help them out and were sick and dying today, especially when there's a fund set aside for that purpose? Very simple.
Marty wasn't supposed to be on the 104th floor that morning. He'd been put in charge of the new Cantor Fitzgerald office on the Jersey Shore. It was supposed to have opened in July, but that got pushed back to Labor Day, then pushed back again. The remains of
My
Marty,
cat has one of my arms.
his mother and sisters are unable to move on without clinical confirmation.
My sister and I had gone and bought flowers, and I was just like, where do I put them? Where do we take them? And it's just very, you're telling me he's gone, well, where is he? Where did he go? Where did he go that you can't even find him?
There we go.
For Americans, understanding what happened proved difficult. (2,832) were killed in New York, 125 more in Washington.
He's just laying right there.
The World Trade Center burned for 69 days, emitting more than 200 different chemicals. $291 bodies were discovered, intact in the rubble.
Okay.
(19,500) body parts were collected. Only 1,102 victims were identified. (1,616 families were issued a death certificate without a body to bury. More than 3,000 children lost a parent. Their average age was 8. In New York, first responders are still dying today as a result to exposure to harmful chemicals. The financial cost is estimated at more than 11 trillion. The emotional cost cannot be counted. Martin Borachevsky touched a lot of people. People such as Jeff and Marie Bruno. Martin always made sure to visit them. He spent time with their 7-year-old son Tyler, teaching him the basics of baseball. When the Bruners learned that Martin had died, they told their son Tyler. Tyler cried. Not fully understanding, Tyler wrote a letter to Marty to say thank you for being...
Oh, alright, turn that in.
Someday, maybe Tyler will understand what happened that day.
This is a whole documentary. Okay, hold on. When I do this, he's just sitting there! Just sitting there! And it's starting to creep me out. Hello? You see? Okay. There these are animated. The fuck? Get up there. These are three are animated.
I knew as soon as I looked at her that she was the one. It was magical. I can't describe it. I couldn't tell her that, but I was like a 15-year-old again. I got all Google-eyed and didn't know what to do or say, and stumbling wasn't like me at all. Wasn't a little macho Italian guy from Brooklyn. When I met Karen, somehow she asked me. She just taught me patience. I had very little patience. Basically, I was one of those guys rolled down the window and screamed at the drivers when they weren't driving the way I thought they should be. And she toned me down. She showed me to be nicer to people. Give it a second thought before you start yelling.
Okay,
And
who are the two people?
Other than her going to work, there wasn't a time we weren't together. Every morning, Karen would drive with me to my office, and then she'd take the subway from my office one stop to the Trade Center. I worked in Brooklyn, so my window across the river, I could see the Twin Towers. So I'm doing some work, and one of my workers comes in and says, "Richie, I just heard that the Trade Center got hit with a plane." I turn around and I see the building burning, and I took my office chair and I threw it at my window. So they brought the nurse up. She gives me a bottle of water. I have the bottle of water, and it's in my hand, and my hand is trembling so much that it's splashing all over me. I couldn't even hold the bottle in my hand. I miss her eyes. Her eyes sparkled to me. One day they were blue, next day they were green. I think I had to light it. Karen, I'll always be in love with you, and I will see you again. I will do enough good to make it up there.
Okay, the second one is really sad. I almost cried.
When I met Michael, I was 14 years old, and I knew that he was going to be my boyfriend. We got married when I was 19, and we were both kids. We really didn't know what next, get married and now what. When we were divorced, I remember the kids telling me that their father confided in them with a secret, and he said, "Well, Daddy still loves you. He doesn't want us to tell you." And I said, "Well, I know, and I love him too, but Mommy and Daddy are gone their separate ways, but we'll always be a family, and we'll always be your mom and dad." On 9/11, I remember getting up to take my daughter. She had a doctor's appointment, so my daughter was home. At 9:04, I got a phone call, and it was Michael, and he was calling from the 103rd floor. And the first thing that he said was, "I'm calling to say goodbye." And I said, "Why? Where are you going?" And he said, "Well, I'm in the building that was just hit by a plane." He just wanted to tell me how much he loved the children. And he says, "I also want to tell you that I always loved you." And I said, "I know. The kids told me." And my daughter was there, and she saw me becoming a little hysterical, and I didn't know whether to put her on because I didn't know how he would react. He thought she was at school. It just really breaks my heart that he's not here for them. It's like the only thing on his mind was to tell the kids that he loved them. And the thing is that my two children look just like him. And they talk like him. And they joke like him. So it's like he's there. I see him in them every day. And as much as he used to drive me crazy, he was my family and my best friend.
Okay, this one's just listening. And once again, I'm talking to myself.
My name is John Lynott.
I'm Elaine Lina. I'm his wife. We're here at Grand Central Terminal to talk
We're
about our
just
son,
listening.
Paul James Battaglia, who was killed on 9/11.
His sister idolized him. Kristen, when she was a baby, was used to save food for Paul.
Anything.
Whatever she got, she'd save a piece, save something for Paul.
And her first words were not even mommy or daddy, they were Brabu. And you couldn't yell at Paul. It was my Paul. Leave my Paul alone. Yes.
If you were trying to scold him, he would come to his defense.
When the first plane hit, I thought maybe it was a commuter plane. And then I thought, oh great, it's hit like right smack where Paul's office is. I hope to God he's not at his desk. I knew that if anything happened, the first thing Paul would do was call my dad. He was the firstborn grandson, very, very close with my father. They would go shopping together, they would go get haircuts together, and I just knew that he would call my dad and then me. And I called my dad and asked if he'd heard from Paul, and he said no. And then I said, well, turn on the TV. And my dad said, Elaine, we lost him. That's right where his office is, where the plane hit. And I called John. And I said, I don't know what we'll do. But it looks like he's gone.
I just kept hoping that it was because the first one had hit, before 9. I just kept hoping that maybe he was still down in the lobby or
No, he found me early because he had a meeting and he left whistling that morning. He was very happy. He was going to his meeting. He was going to work. In fact, I was going to ask him to wait for me to ride the train with him because I love to sit next to him on the train. I love to smell his aftershave. We had such a happy night the night before. September 10th, 2001. We were joking and laughing, and I actually was so happy when I went to sleep that night. That's the thing that got me afterwards. I had no premonition. You think that you should know something horrible is going to happen to your child that day. And I was so happy that night, thinking that I had such a nice family and such a good life. And I was truly blessed. And then 12 hours later, it was very different. I don't miss him until I die.
When he died, I was 12. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember him because I was little, but I have to say that his hugs, like, you know, I remember them so much. When I used to hug him, the whole world disappeared because he just would cover me and that would be it. Ever since I could remember, he wanted to be a firefighter. He wanted to be just like his brothers. And I remember he finally did it, and he called me on the phone, and he was just ecstatic, like he didn't know what to do. He couldn't believe it. It was his dream. He never wanted to move up. He never wanted to be a captain. He wanted to stay a firefighter for the rest of his life. No matter how much I want him to be here, I still know that his dream was always to be a firefighter, and I don't think he would have wanted to have died any other way.
We're just...
That summer, he came home and told me that Mayor Giuliani was going to honor him for all the work he had did for the city, and he was, like, overjoyed. When we were coming out of Gracie Mansion, he carried me out, and we were laughing, and he said, "Bro, there is nothing else that I would want." He had reached the pinnacle of life. That day, September 11th, my boys went down looking for him, and my family came over, and we sat, and we sat. You know, we used to kid him that he was Clint Eastwood, and I guess I try to visualize him coming out of the dirt, cleaning himself off. And then that night, Mayor Giuliani came on, saying that he lost some of his top men, and he mentioned Gansey, Fiam, and then he said, and someone who I just had honored at my house, Ray Downey. And I said, "Oh no, it can't be. We didn't even know anything yet." And my son called and said, "Ma, don't worry. We're still looking." So I just prayed and prayed for weeks, never giving up, because we were married 40 years, and Ray gave me this angel pin that was a fireman. And I said to my kids, you know what? Maybe I'll send them to all the wives who lost their husbands, and maybe it would help us, this angel. So we stood up for hours. My son's getting all the addresses, my daughters and us writing them out, and then delivering them to all the firehouses. And I thought by reaching out that God would reach back and give me Ray. But when I went down to the site after many months, it was so devastating. And I knew he wasn't coming home. We did have 40 years of happiness, but I wish I had more time, because after so many years, there's that special bond you have, that just being there was enough, and that's what I miss. I miss that a lot.
I was a prep cook. So for 8 hours, peeling potatoes and cleaning onions. And when Moises Rivas was hired, I was assigned to train him. We had a strong relationship because I was directing his work. On September 8th, Moises Rivas asked me, "Do you mind working for me on Sunday? And I'll pick up your shift on Tuesday." So he ended up working September 11, and he did not make it. He has 2 kids. You know, losing one person in your life is traumatic, but I lost a lot of people, and what I compare it to is the experience of a soldier without a soldier. Because a soldier is trained to lose massive amount of people, and we were just kitchen workers. So after 9/11, I did cab driving for almost a year and a half. You know, pick this person, point A, I drop you, point B. Let's not make friends.
because I felt like if I had to lose another close friend of mine, I don't think I would be able to recoup from it. The feeling of why Moses, why not me, is something that will trouble me in my entire life. He went to work and never made it home.
Sean had warm brown eyes and dark curly hair. And he was a good husband. We met when we were only 16 at a high school dance. When he died, we were 50. It was about 30 a.m. when he called. They told me he was on the 105th floor and he'd been trying to find a way out. He told me that he hadn't had any success and now the stairwell was full of smoke. I asked if it hurt for him to breathe. And he paused for a moment and said, no. He loved me enough to lie. We stopped talking about escape routes, and then we just began talking about all the happiness we shared during our lives together. I told him that I wanted to be there with him, die with him. But he said no, and he wanted me to live a full life. As the smoke got thicker, he just kept whispering, I love you, over and over. I just wanted to crawl through the phone lines to him and hold him one last time. Then I heard a sharp crack, followed by the sound of an avalanche. It was the building beginning to collapse. Called his name and the phone over and over. Then I just sat there, pressing the phone to my heart. Think about that last half hour with Sean all the time. Remember how I didn't want that day to end, terrible as it was. I didn't want to go to sleep because as long as I was awake, it was still a day that I'd shared with Sean. He'd kissed me goodbye before leaving for work. I could still say that was just a little while ago. That was only this morning. And, looking back on all that has happened since he died and the causes I fought for and the things I've done, I just think of myself as living life for both of us now. And I like to think that Sean would be proud of me.
These are getting more sadder.
Somebody described her
Can
to
you
me
guys hear
once
this?
as the kind of person that when she walks in the room, the temperature goes up by 10 degrees.
I basically never met my grandmother, but somebody told me that the last picture she saw was one of me.
Yeah. September 10th, I sent my mom an email with a picture of you. And it was one of your first real smiles. And then that morning, 9/11, she emailed back something like, so cute, I'm going to steal that baby. So that was what she saw when she first got to the office that morning, your face.
I know that the last you heard of her, you were on the phone.
Mm-hmm. We were getting ready to get you up and leave for the city when she called and said, don't worry, you're going to see stuff on the news, but it's not my building because hers was the second tower to be hit. So we were on the phone with her when her tower was hit.
She said, I need to go. I'll call you back when I get out. But she never called me back.
I don't know a whole lot about what actually happened from that moment on, but one of her jobs was to manage the mailroom. And so she had a staff of employees, and one of them was named Donnie.
When he got outside of the building and saw that she wasn't there, he ran back in the building to save her, but he never walked out again.
Everybody was willing to do anything for her.
Everything I know about her makes me glad that I had her as a grandma, even though she was only there for 10 weeks after my birth. And I feel like every once in a while I can still feel her warmth.
One of my coworkers asked me if I knew what was going on in New York. So I said no, and she said, well, you got to come see. And there's a crowd of people watching the TV. So I stood there for a few minutes and watched. And then I walked back to my desk. I called my wife. She said she knew, and I said, well, I just wanted to let you know I was okay. And she said, do me a favor. For the rest of the day, work from underneath your desk. So I laughed. I said, yeah, honey, I will. I love you, and I'll see you tonight. And I walked back over, and by this time, the crowd kind of thinned out a little bit. And just as I decided to get up and leave, the plane hit the outside of the building. I was blown through the air, and when I landed, I really didn't know where I was. That kind of scared me, because I knew better than I knew the floor plan of my own house. The room was just black, and everything I touched burned my hands. I just started crawling on my hands and knees, and I knew I was going in the right direction when it started getting a little bit lighter, and I could feel water on my back from the sprinklers. Eventually, I stood up and started walking down towards the center courtyard. And it's at this point that I finally realized how badly I was hurt, because as I was walking, I looked down at my hands. And I remember seeing just strings of skin, which was hanging off my hands from the burns. And I remember sitting on the grass and a medic coming up and cutting all my clothes off of me, and a doctor saying he goes first. There's a lot of things that I don't remember to this day, but I remember my wife waking me up, and I thought it was still September 11th, but it was September 13th. You know, when I went back over the second time to watch what was going on in New York, I was standing in the middle of 5 people, and I'm the only one that survived.
I remember listening to the radio, and I remember them saying that a plane hit one of the towers. So I went and called you, my love, and you thought I was losing my mind.
I did. I thought you were crazy. But I put on the radio right away. Then I heard, and I didn't even think twice. I picked up my stethoscope. I flagged an emergency vehicle, hopped on.
Here you are telling me you're going to go out there, and the one thing I wanted to do was hold on to you and hide. But you said, no, this is not what we do.
When we got down there, it was so quiet. Smoke all over the place. You could barely see. And I remember coming out of the smoke was a guy with his shirt collar open, his tie hanging down. And I noticed he was a high-ranking police officer. You know, he had a gold shield, and he was bleeding. So I told him to hang out till we could get him to a hospital. And he says, I can't stay here. He says, I got to go back to my men. They were under the building when it went down. So I couldn't stop him, and I just saw him walk away into that smoke. And that's the way it was. You know, there wasn't that much to say to each other. It's like we knew what we had to do, and we just went to doing it. That's something I'll never forget.
I owned an Italian restaurant in California, and when 9/11 happened, I watched so many people that went into those buildings, and that was it. That was the end of their lives, and I wanted to give back. So I decided that I would sell my restaurant to come to New York to cook for firemen. I stayed at a cousin who lives on the Upper West Side, and I said to her, where's the closest firehouse? And she said, down the street around the corner. So I went and knocked on the door, and I said, I know you think I'm crazy, but, I want to cook for you. And I showed them my menu. I gave them my business card, and I guess they believed me. And so I went into firehouses throughout all 5 boroughs, and I cooked right in the firehouses. The first firehouse was just 6 guys. It was very intimate and very sweet. And then other firehouses, I cooked the food. We had coffee, we had dessert. They told me stories about all the things up on their walls. And I would say to them, okay, where should I go next? And somebody would always pipe up and go, Engine 53, call them and ask for Joe. So the next day I'd get on the phone and I'd call them, and then they would refer me to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. And basically I thought, I'm going to cook for as many firehouses as I can in 6 months. Well, I stayed 2 years. And, people always ask me, are you sorry you sold your restaurant? And I said, not for a minute. Not for 1 minute.
Doc, whoever is watching this with back.
If you were going to find somebody that day to go down there who was pragmatic and clear-headed, I was not that guy. I honestly thought that the world was going to come to an end. Maybe it seems silly now, but I thought, this is absolutely a nuclear event. Today's the last day I'm alive. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go downstairs and see if the neighborhood corner bar is open. I was just going to sit there with other people and see what was going to be done. One of the owners of the bar, who I was good friends with, came directly over to me. And he said, Jack, you're a welder. I've got construction experience. There are people suffering, and someone needs to do something about it. Do you want to go with me? I said, well, okay, let's do this. And we're among the first 20 steel burners to go in there. Later on in that first night, I had this thought that I was standing on this gigantic funeral pyre going into the earth, and that with all the heat that kept coming out from underneath the debris and the fires that would come up, I realized I was probably breathing in the ashen remains of some of the people. It was kind of like communion for me.
And I'm gonna end it there because I'm gonna be going really soon. See you until next time.